and London Grimes, Gina De Jesus. When Gina De Jesus, Tea Party challenger Matt Bivens. People don't want to have their Social Security overall. The Republican savior, Mark Rubio's big night. In evolution and Galileo, I mean, this whole thing of Galileo, America's changed. Unless IT and Skillets, President Putin doing something similar back in, it won't change this fundamental fact about the GOP. Just how absurd these attacks is. Nearly 6 months after the dangerous traffic jam, the Thai military says, my friend for many years, Ilyana Van Zandt. There's nothing there.
And they gave this guy a TV show? Let's get back to our show.
Gene Baradelli, back behind enemy lines. I want to thank Andre Walker for his weekly contribution, his weekly monologue, which is always a hoot. Oh, I can't believe I just said hoot. Always hilarious, always fantastic. Check out his website, www.andrewalker.uk, and check out all the great stories he's been writing. He's been writing stuff also for us behind enemy lines at www.behindenemylinesradio.us. Check him out, folks. A lot of great stuff. Can't believe we actually convinced him to work with us. But Andre brought up the Invictus Games in his weekly monologue. And I want to make sure that everybody knows what's going on starting on May 8th. These games involving injured veterans, and it's such a wonderful thing. Especially, we talked about Veterans Appreciation Month. And what Wayne Hanson is doing with Wreaths across America. The Invictus Games fits right into that, and it's great to see the banter between the countries on this. But beyond the political ramifications of all that, and the spotlight it gives to the leaders, Prince Harry came up with a great thing here, and anything that furthers the causes of veterans is something that we get behind here, behind enemy lines. So make sure you take some time over the weekend, check out the Invictus Games and see what it's all about, and I think you'll be glad that you did. And I'll leave that there for everybody to consider. So let's round out the night by talking about where do we go from here? Because clearly this is not where we intended to be. I don't think anyone at the beginning of this cycle had Donald Trump as the Republican nominee written in there. I mean, just to steal something from what happened on Andre Walker's side of the pond, Leicester City was a 5,000 to 1 shot. I don't think Donald Trump was a 5,000 to 1 shot, but I think Donald Trump was not the favorite. Let's put it that way. But now here he is, and he has some time to heal some wounds, and you're going to start seeing that soon. But there's this looming feeling of dread I have, folks. And maybe it's unwarranted. Maybe it's because I believe in the science of political science. But it hasn't held true in the Republican primary. I'm concerned that the science will catch up to him and that professional politics will bring down Donald Trump. Hasn't happened so far. Donald Trump does not shrink away from a fight. In fact, he fights harder. I like that in a candidate. Hillary Clinton's going to come with full guns blazing. I mean, she's going to try to make this a referendum on Donald Trump when we really should be making this on a referendum on President Obama. And the close to 8 years now of horrible policy, running up deficits, boondoggles, scandals, mismanagement, you name it, it has happened in this administration. That should be the referendum right now. The referendum should not be about Donald Trump and whether he can be president or not. The man clearly knows how to run organizations and employ thousands of people and make lots of money for him and his shareholders. The referendum should be on whether we want to continue down this path, want to continue down the road that Obama has laid out. And it's scary out there, folks, because when you look at the exit polling from the other side, it's a little scary. besides the 26% that think Bernie Sanders is going to win from their side, there's 50% of Democrats out there that want to continue President Obama's failed policies, and there's another 35% that want more liberal government. They want more progressive policies. They're trying to drag the argument further to the left. If the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, to think that we're on a path right now to prosperity and we should double down on it is ludicrous. But this is what you're facing right now. You're facing a staunch, far-left Democrat Party bordering on socialism based upon the way that they're flocking to Bernie Sanders, wanting to double down on the path that we're on. And let me remind you, the path we're on is decreases in property values, decreases in disposable income, the rich getting richer, even though they don't say that on their side, more government dependency for food stamps, for general welfare, more demonizing of traditional religious and social values. That's what you're seeing right now, folks. That's what they want to double down on. That's your alternative, by the way, conservatives, if you're thinking of the never Trump camp. Your alternative right now is not Ted Cruz anymore. It's not even John Kasich anymore. And it's not even that generic Republican that may have popped out at the convention. Your choice is Donald Trump or the other presumptive, Hillary Clinton. Now, I know that there may be a Bernie person here or there that will disagree with me on that and say, Bernie won Indiana. Bernie won all these states. But the fix is in, folks. You think that Donald Trump's complaints about the Republican side of the primary system was bad? Check out the Democratic side and their superdelegates. The people don't pick the nominee. The party picks the nominee on the Democratic side. It's the political elite, the political 1%. Many of which are also part of the so-called 1% that picked that nominee. And they're picking Hillary Clinton. To their detriment, I might add. Because when it comes down to a record, I defy anybody out there to tell me what the heck Hillary Clinton has accomplished either as Senator from New York, Secretary of State. What has this woman done besides talk and take money from foreign governments while holding a public office? What has she done to engender this following, to get such ardent supporters? She's talked, and that's about it. But that's good enough for the lefties, folks. Not good enough for me. If we're going to turn this country around, we need people who actually have a track record of success. And right now, you know, I full disclosure, I was not on the Donald Trump bandwagon. But as my co-host Russ Gallo says, and shout out to you, Russ, we miss you on the show tonight. You'd be taking a victory lap right now. You don't go to the war with the army you wish you have. You wish you had. You go to war with the army you have. And Donald Trump is the army that Republicans have. For better or for worse, Donald Trump is better than Hillary Clinton. You may think the country's going to go to hell in a handbasket with Donald Trump. But will there be a country left when Hillary Clinton is in office? I can't believe I'm even entertaining this idea right now. Let's remember, as they say in the Hunger Games, who the real enemy is here. Donald Trump is now the Republican nominee. The presumptive nominee. While you may want to have a cleansing conservative fire and take down the party and build it from the ground up again in a show of conservative support, recognize that your conservative support was not enough to get the nominee that you wanted. Donald Trump has changed the game. He has brought in new blood into Republican primary votes. Presumably, those people are ardent supporters and they will be voting in the general election. When you talk about hundreds of thousands of new voters per state, that is something that Republican conservatives have been talking about doing for years. And Donald Trump accomplished this with the force of his personality. that energy now stays now that he is the presumptive nominee. There is no such energy on the Democrat Party, I should say, even though those polls, 73% of them are energized by the Democratic campaign. But I dare ask, how many of those who are energized were energized by Bernie Sanders or Hillary Clinton? I would submit that most of them were energized by Bernie Sanders. And when he loses, and it is when, folks, don't kid yourselves, when he loses, you have to wonder, does that energy fade away? Much like the Rand Paul libertarian wing of the Republican Party that fades away whenever a Paul drops out of a race. Will that happen with Bernie Sanders? And more importantly, will those Sanders people come over to the Trump campaign? I know it's far-fetched, but there may be some that are so disenchanted with Hillary Clinton that they'll join a Never Clinton campaign, a Never Hillary. You know what? We're going to make that a hashtag. Everybody in the chat room at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us, let's start using hashtag Never Hillary, and let's see what happens. Because the question is being squarely put to everybody now. Is your future best invested with Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton? I leave it for America to decide. I know you know that I have my opinions on this, and I'm not Fox News. I'm not fair and balanced. You get my opinion straight from the gut here, folks. In light of the events this week in Indiana, I will be voting for Donald Trump. And I encourage you to do so as well. Even if you have to hold your nose to do it. A Donald Trump presidency is still better than a Hillary Clinton presidency. I'm choking on the words as they're coming out of my mouth. A little bit of vomit there as well. But that's a little too graphic for radio, and we'll just leave it as that. Folks, we're getting ready to shut this thing down. I want to thank everybody for listening to the show. I want to thank Wayne Hanson, the chairman of the board of Wreaths Across America. Go to www.wreathsacrossamerica.org. See if you can get involved in your state in volunteering and supporting that great organization. It's Veterans Appreciation Month, folks. Thank a veteran. Support veteran programs. Let's get behind those who've always been behind us. Let's support our veterans as we start heading towards Memorial Day. And really remember what this is all about. Not just the beginning of summer, but those who sacrificed to get us to the point where we have these choices we can make in America in these elections, and that made America great all the time. I want to thank our new audience, WJHC in Jasper, Florida, at the Florida-Georgia line, for tuning in. And we hope to hear a lot from you guys in the near future. We look forward to getting to know you. You know what? I might even make a trip down there one day just to see how y'all doing. And I hope I said y'all right. I want to thank everybody in the chat room for coming on. I want to thank Andre Walker from Town Hall Magazine and AndreWalker.uk for giving us his weekly monologue. But until next week, folks, it is time to shut this sucker down. Thanks for listening to Behind Enemy Lines from the People's Republic of New York. And until next week, we are out of here. Good night, folks.
Our position has been compromised. It's time to roll out. Report for debriefing at www.BehindEnemyLinesRadio.us and look for regular communications via Facebook and Twitter at BEL_radio. You are the resistance. Behind Enemy Lines. Part of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network. A rock radio production. Copyright 2015. Back in 7 days.